Am I the asshole boarding the plane and leaving without my wife? I know how this sounds, but please hear me out. This isn't my usual account, and I don't want my wife to see this since it's a sensitive topic. My wife Meg and I have a daughter Jess, who is in her junior year of college on the East Coast. Over the summer, Jess worked at her university and stayed in the dorms. After that, she moved into her own apartment. We live in the Pacific Northwest and usually visit Jess a couple of times each semester, typically for Parents' Weekend and Move-Out Day. Traveling with Meg can be challenging. I'm very organized and like to arrive early, especially for flights. Meg, on the other hand, is more laid back and prefers to take her time. I try to compromise, but when it comes to flying, I really want to stick to a schedule. Last year during Parents' Weekend, we had a flight at 10 a.m. I told Meg we needed to be at the airport 90 minutes early, and since we live about 30 minutes away, I wanted to leave by 8 a.m. I woke up at 6 to prepare, but it took 5 attempts to get Meg up. She finally got up at 7:40 and wanted to make coffee, shower, and eat breakfast. We didn't leave until 9, and by then, the airport was busier than usual. We missed our flight, and the airline wouldn't refund our tickets. We had to rebook for the next day, missing precious time with Jess. Now, we were flying down for another long weekend to help Jess move. We had a connecting flight, and I wanted to make sure we left early this time. We arrived on time, but Meg was annoyed about having to wait for our flight. After our first flight, we landed at a larger airport with only an hour for our layover. We got off the plane at 9:15, and our next flight started boarding at 9:40. We had to take multiple trains to reach our terminal, and by the time we arrived, we had about 15 minutes until boarding. Meg wanted coffee from Starbucks, which was a bit of a trek away. I suggested I get it for her, but she insisted on going herself. Despite my concerns about time, she walked off to find her coffee. 15 minutes passed, and she was still missing. The boarding groups were being called, and I tried calling her, but she didn't answer. When they called our group, I felt panic. I called her again, and she finally answered, saying she was stuck in a long line. I waited by the gate, but the attendant informed me they would be closing the gate soon. I had to make a choice, so I boarded the plane. Moments later, Meg called, saying they wouldn't let her on. She wanted me to get off the plane to be with her, but I refused. I told her it wasn't fair to Jess to miss this flight again. I suggested she buy a new ticket for the next flight, and I would see her when she arrived. When Meg arrived at Jess's school, she seemed unfazed by the situation and didn't bring it up. I thought maybe she realized it was her fault, but I was mistaken. Now, over a week later, she hasn't spoken to me since the trip and insists that I'm the one in the wrong. So, am I the asshole?